We're live. Sabine, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. I am very delighted today to open the 4U Plus Visioning Conference as the chair of the conference and EUP coordinator for Sorbonne University. This is also our last event within the first European University project of the 4U Plus European University Alliance. Today, we will have an overview on the achievements and progress during the 3 years project, and we will further discuss the transformation role of the European universities in the European higher education area. In the presence of several distinguished speakers and participants, the stakeholders of 4U Plus Alliance, the DG HEIs, and of course, sister alliances. We are also honored to count among our distinguished panelists a representative of our French Ministry of Higher Education. We are very happy to welcome you all, and we thank you very much for accepting our invitation. This conference is broadcasted live through our 4U Plus YouTube channel, which is allowing a large and wide audience to attend online and ask questions for the Q&A sessions. I would like also to take the opportunity to thank all the teams of our 7 4U Plus universities after those 3 years for the wonderful work they accomplished. As you know, the topic of the conference today is the transforming role of European universities. This topic was chosen on purpose, as we believe that European universities do have a transforming role, both within the universities, but also beyond. For instance, on a national level, they can be a tool to contribute to the development of public national policies. We shall talk about that later in the last panel. To address such topic, we have planned a conference program which is structured around 1 keynote speech and 3 sessions. The keynote will be presented by DG HEIs representative and head of unit for higher education, Vanessa de Biais-Sainton. Then we will have one plenary addressing the topic on 3 years of European University Alliances, milestones and impact, in which 4U Plus Alliance, represented by 5 distinguished speakers from our universities, shall address the main milestones of our alliance. After that, ECIU Alliance will share with the audience their own experience in such respect. The first session will be moderated by the chair of 4U Plus Academic Council, Professor Bernard Azenknop from Sorbonne University. The 2 alliances presentations shall be followed by a short Q&A session. The second session shall address the question on 4U Plus in action testimonials. It will be moderated by a 4U Plus student, Marta Lies, from Heidelberg University. We are very happy to give our students a central place in our conference, as it embodies the importance that is given to the students in 4U Plus. The third and last session shall be a discussion panel about the topic envisioning the future. I will have the honor to moderate it as a chair of this conference. The panelists represent a diversity of institutions and alliances, including ours, as well as the French Ministry of Higher Education. Another Q&A session will follow. After that, the Secretary General of 4U Plus Alliance, Isabelle Kratz, shall give the conclusion remarks before we can end the conference. Now, and before giving the floor to our first speaker for the keynote speech, Vanessa de Biais-Sainton, I would like to end my welcoming words with a few key messages which are very important to our alliance. I would like to emphasize that 4U Plus is not tied to a project, but that we think and build beyond. We are building the universities of the future with a long-term vision, a quality-oriented alliance with a transformative role. The 4U Plus vision since the beginning was to establish an integrated university model, tackling challenges in research and education, and paving the way for the European universities of the future. To tackle those challenges, we have defined 4 flagships in line with the SDGs. Our flagships are the pillars for creating strong cooperative networks between partner universities, providing a sense of belonging to the Alliance. Here, I would like to thank our flagship leaders who are doing a great job. I would like to pay a tribute to our students. Over the past 3 years, and despite a very difficult COVID context, our students have demonstrated the spirit of Europeanness, which is essential for us. Through the activities proposed and the commitments of the students, transversal competences, including interculturality, have been remarkably addressed in 4U+. This European spirit is proving to be a strong added value in the joint courses we have created. It is an important achievement and milestone which goes beyond the vision we had for the project at the beginning. It also embodies our bottom-up approach, which will be addressed later by Milena Kralichkova, rector of Charles University. Our student involvement is a major asset and a success for us. It seemed only normal to give the responsibility of the moderation of session 2 of our conference to our students, as they have given us the energy to go further, to dream bigger. When we envisage our future, I cannot but think about the virtual campus, which is an objective and a challenge, as this implies that we need to share data, for instance. This is a challenge, but we are doing it because we can build up on the current projects which gave us the milestones. I will finish sharing with you a few key numbers, because numbers speak more than some words sometimes. Educational projects, we have developed 61 joint courses. Shared courses, more than 700 courses are open to all students from our 7 universities. We had more than 3,500 student mobilities. We had more than 1,000 staff mobilities, including academics, but also more than 500 were non-academic staffs. I would like to end my welcoming words by saying how happy and grateful I am to all our speakers, students and staff communities, stakeholders, ministry and broader guests, and in particular to our sister alliances for accepting to share with our audience today their perspectives about European universities. Vanessa de Biais-Sainton, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It is a real pleasure for me to be able to join all of you this morning. And no, actually, it's not the morning anymore. But dear students, academics, scientists, researchers, rectors, and all members of the 4AU+ European University, it's a great pleasure to be with you while we are celebrating the European Year of Youth and the 35th anniversary of the most emblematic European program, that is Erasmus+. And that is thanks to all of you, because you are, thanks to your daily hard work, making this Erasmus+ program a reality, and even more than that, hugely successful. And let me also congratulate 4AU+ and all its partners for your successful application to the second round of the Erasmus+ funding for the next 4 years, with a substantial increased budget, 40 million euros for 4 years. You have demonstrated that you are on the right track to reach the goals that you have set in your joint long-term strategy 3 years ago. Now the hard work starts to make this ambitious initiative a reality in all your different higher education institutions, to mainstream all the innovative activities that you have piloted in the last 3 years, so that even more students, academics, and faculties can benefit from the new, innovative, and interdisciplinary learning and research practices that you are developing. These European universities, including 4AU+, can only succeed if they implement real transformation at institutional level, and if they manage to embark all their staff and students in this great adventure. And for this, you will need the support of each and every service in your universities for this transformation, starting from rectors, vice rectors, deans, and going to all of those academics in your universities, as well as your staff, students, and your innovation ecosystem. And the best way to achieve this is to have the overall strategy of each of your higher education institutions aligned with the strategy, the long-term strategy of 4AU+. And I am sure that this will bring new perspectives, strengths, and energy to 4AU+ to achieve this structural, systemic, and sustainable impact on higher education in Europe. And we strongly believe in 4AU+. 4AU+ will be a key player to move towards seamless and new forms of mobility for a majority of students and staff, be it physical, virtual, or blended. We are also looking forward to see the development of transdisciplinary and transnational programs across your higher education institutions, striving towards a possible joint European degree. And this includes also embedding a challenge-based approach in your curricula that involves your innovation ecosystem, allowing your students to be actors of change, including when it comes to sustainable development, and the setup of a vibrant, multicultural, inclusive, and multilingual inter-university campus. So we really encourage all students, staff, and researchers to take ownership of 4AU+, be part of its development. As you said before, students have a key role, and take advantage of all the great opportunities we know that it can bring to all of you. It's highly ambitious. We know that it requires a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of work from all of you. And that is why we are on your side to further support 4AU+ beyond the funding part. On the 5th of April this year, the Council endorsed the higher education package proposed by the Commission through the adoption of Council conclusions on the European strategy for universities, as well as recommendations to build bridges for effective European higher education cooperation. So European universities such as 4AU+ have been key in the development of this package. We've built on your experiences as you are leading the way towards a true European education area in higher education. The member states have expressed their strong support for this European strategy for universities and towards the 4 objectives. First, to support a stronger European dimension to higher education and research, to support all types of higher education institutions in becoming both more excellent and inclusive, preparing the future generations, but also lifelong learners for equipping them with future-proof skills and competencies. And that includes empowering higher education institutions to tackle the twin digital and green transitions. And all this will reinforce your universities as fundamental drivers of European global leadership. So we have proposed in this European strategy for universities 4 flagships. The first one is the European Universities Initiative. We aim to have 60 European Universities Alliances by mid-2024, involving more than 500 higher education institutions, with the support of Erasmus+, 1.1 billion euros over the 7 years, but also in synergy with other European instruments such as Horizon Europe, Digital Europe, and the structural funds. We will work also towards voluntary and flexible legal status for European universities. For those who wish so, it's fully voluntary. Basically, the objective is to allow European universities to facilitate common strategic decisions, pulling together resources, activities, data, while fully respecting, of course, your institutional autonomy. The third flagship is to examine options and necessary steps towards a possible joint European degree. And as a first step, we are working towards developing European criteria for the award of a joint European degree label. And if I am not mistaken, 4EU Plus is part of the proposal. So I would like to welcome that very much and congratulate you for making such a proposal. And this will be key to support joint programs delivered in the context of transnational cooperation between several higher education institutions. So based on the outcomes of these pilots and in close cooperation with stakeholders, we will explore further steps for the possible design and delivery of joint European degrees at all levels. All this, of course, in cooperation with the member states and building on all the existing instruments of the Bologna process. Now, last but not least, the Council recommendation offers a wide range of measures that are key to support your European universities and all the others in overcoming, and we know there are quite a number of legal and administrative challenges while implementing joint educational programs and activities. And that is why we are going to follow up with your ministries and the member states the implementation of these recommendations, as we know that they are very important for you and to make your European university thrive and succeed. So it's not easy to address all the challenges in so many aspects of your work. And at the same time, the alliances we know will lead the way in tackling these challenges. So I wish you a great success and a lot of fun along the way. And please, let's keep in touch and support each other. Thanks a lot. And I wish you a fruitful conference.
Thank you. I will leave the floor now to the chair of this first session, Bernie.
Thank you, Sabine, and hello to everyone. It's really my great pleasure to host you for this first session. My name is Bernie Hasenknopf. I'm from Sorbonne University. And if you would like to learn more about me, or especially more about any of the speakers who we have in this session, I invite you to have a look at the website of this conference, 4euplus.eu, and you will find a short bio of all the speakers here. I would also like to tell you again that during the talk of the speakers, you can write your comments or questions in the chat on YouTube, and we will take all of them at the end. And so in order to have the time for doing that, I invite all of the speakers once again to stick to the agreed time slots that we have. But now, without losing any further time, I would like to come to our first speaker, and this is Professor Milena Karliczkova from Charles University. Please, Milena.
Hello, good afternoon to everybody. It's my great pleasure, and I'm really happy that I can speak to you all today by the occasion of the Visioning Conference of 4EU Plus. And actually, in the minutes which I have ahead of me, I would like to tell you the story of our flagships, which are kind of trademark of 4EU Plus. Please show me the next slide. We have 4 flagships, and I will tell you in the next slide the story how we came up with this idea. But first, I would like to start with the reason why the flagships and idea of flagships was started. During the first weeks and days and weeks of the debates of the future of our alliance, of the effectivity and cooperation between the universities, we quite quickly find out that we need a balance between top-up approach and a bottom-up approach. And to nourish the bottom-up approach and to support our academics and also the students, the 4EU Plus flagships were found as a concept that will help us to support continuously our academics and our community. The international community of engaged scholars from very different kind of fields and disciplines, from plenty of faculties at our universities, came up together, and in fact, they are organized or joined into 4 flagships, which you can see on this slide. Flagship number 1 is dedicated to urban health and demographic change, and you can meet there plenty of doctors as well as geographists and some social scientists as well. In the flagship number 2, Europeanness, multilingualism, pluralities, and citizenship. In this flagship, you can actually meet plenty of researchers focused on humanities and social sciences. Flagship number 3, digitalization, modeling, and transformation, is dedicated to plenty of our colleagues from mathematics, physics, informatics, and similar sciences. And we have their special activities focused, for example, on artificial intelligence. And flagship number 4, last but not least, since the beginning dedicated to sustainable development and now named environmental transition. All these flagships, as you can see, address very important areas, grand social challenges, which are actually important and extremely up to date, to say, to all of our societies, to whole European Union, and actually to the whole world. I would like to show you the history of the flagships. On the next slide, please show us the next slide. What was the history? How did we came up with this idea, and how did we treat our flagships? Well, everything started in 2018, in the first months in spring 2018, where there was a call to submit research projects that would show us current and running research collaborations with the line of SDGs. And the intention was to find possible ways how to fund these cooperations, how to support them, how to make them flourish. These activities were consolidated in the second half of 2018 into the 4 flagships that I described to you already before. And actually that was the time of the first flagship meetings. And we were trying to find a way how to organize the flagships, how to coordinate them. And we are still trying to find the optimal way how to support them. In 2019, with the first Erasmus Plus call, which was awarded to the first project that was awarded to 4EU Plus, the flagships were reoriented a little bit from the pure research to research-based education mission. And we were debating the research-based education and trying to work with the teams that were joined in the flagships and show them that the research-based education is really closely joined to the research, and we tried to nourish their activities. Between 2019 and 2022, flagships were focused then on educational activities, on creating the learning pathways, which were established during the first Erasmus Plus projects. In the same time, few universities ran so-called mini grants that supported also the other activities, not only education purely, but also some activities which were dedicated to other fields of activities. In 2022, the governing board of 4EU Plus, that's the board formed by rectors, decided to reintegrate the research in the mission of flagships. And we are lucky enough that we have a new project, one core project, which will again work with flagship as the key instruments of including the bottom-up approach. Flagships mean that we can really approach almost anybody at our universities, that we can activate new research cooperations of the teams that, for example, didn't work with 4EU Plus so far, or were not included in 4EU Plus so far, but which appear as new activities in our alliance. Please show us the next slide. I would like to show you on this 5 key steps that helped us to support and stimulate the bottom-up activities, really to speak openly to any of the academics or any of the students at our universities. The first step that meant financial support of concrete cooperations were mini grants, 4 editions of mini grants at Charles University, 3 editions of mini grants at the University of Warsaw that really funded cooperation through the alliance. And we were really very happy to see during all of the editions that it was really nicely balanced. All the partners were joined, all the flagships were supported. Plus, of course, during the first Erasmus Plus project, there were 2 calls for 4EU Plus joint educational proposals. We started at some of the activities from small educational units, from, for example, just modules or summer schools, and we gradually raised and scaled up the educational activities that were supported by these 2 joint educational calls. In fact, 61 educational projects were selected and funded by these 2 calls. I'm so happy that we're speaking about students since the beginning. Including students into the educational activities was one of the key figures that we wanted, one of the key characteristics that we were supporting. And we also implemented mini grants focused only on students during the period of time. What is important is that flagships proved that they can foster synergies, because they can, even in between each other, share the knowledge, share the expertise, share human resources, exchange good methods. And flagships, for me, definitely prove that they are engine of the academics in 4EU Plus. The 5th elements, which I want to mention, is that, of course, there is central coordination of activities and dissemination of results of the activities of the flagships. On the next slide, I would like to show you the 5 key achievements that flagships brought in the education in 4EU Plus. There are flagships learning pathways which are integrated into the educational offer at our universities, and which really bring innovative, attractive, and really flexible opportunities for our students. Each of the flagships produced some of them and implemented them. And actually, the key 5 characteristics that I would like to mention is that we, since the beginning, implemented the desire to bring 5 shared key competencies of 4EU Plus, 5 4EU Plus graduate skills and competencies that were always in all of the joint educational activities mentioned. At least some of them was always present. The pedagogy that was implemented in plenty of the 61 activities were really truly innovative. I would like to mention, for example, 4EU Plus ABC method that helped our teachers to form together joint educational activities, and that allows us to really implement innovative approaches. Mobility, a key thing, key question. I'm really happy that even COVID pandemic didn't stop 4EU Plus, and we found ways how to meet, either virtually or in a hybrid manner. But I'm also so happy to see that after COVID pandemic, this summer 2022, the physical mobility really flourished. So development of mobility, either short-term or long-term, including virtual, combined, all of that was somehow in 61 joint educational activities, thanks to the flagship and thanks to the flagship activities promoted. As I already mentioned, flagships were organized since the beginning from smaller educational units and modules and scaled up to larger activities. And I'm really looking forward to all our joint study programs that are gradually appearing. And definitely, I'm really happy that 4EU Plus is also active in the call that will explore the possibilities of European degree label. Shared courses that we share in between the 4EU Plus is something that really brings up new quality to our 4EU Plus students. On my last slide, I would like to show you 5 basic lessons learned. We really, we really succeeded into bringing up new joint educational activities. The educational offer is larger after months of cooperation in education. But now it's ahead of us to sustain these activities, and sustainability of this educational offer is definitely something we need to talk about, and we need to solve a way how to support it. Another lesson learned is that we have now flagships that we need to support for future. I'm very happy that we will soon meet, all of us, at the annual meeting of 4EU Plus Alliance in Copenhagen. And this way how to support flagships in future will be definitely one of the topics for the debates. What makes me really happy is to see that the flagships in between each other are sharing and exploring. The cross-fertilization between the flagships is something that will probably help us a lot to reach the global campus that was already also mentioned in the beginning by Professor Sabine Botin-Rousseau. We could see already during COVID pandemia that a virtual campus is working and can be very effective for our students. Of course, there were plenty of lessons learned regarding mobility, because this is something that we still have to take care of, supporting the mobility in a really efficient way to provide our students and even our academics with meaningful mobility. And this is a never-ending story and never-ending work. And flagships are actually doing a lot to bring up meaningful mobility to the community of our universities. And fifth lesson learned was definitely coordination of ECTS. And again, this is not a work that would be finished, but a topic that needs to be brought up on and discussed in future to really make sure that our recognition is easier and easier, that our mutual recognition will give us more flexibility. I'm very happy to see that flagships are interested also in lifelong learning possibilities. And it's great to follow up the debates about micro-credentials, because one of the tools that I really believe for EU Plus, and definitely, for example, Charles University will use in futures, will be micro-credentials. And I believe this tool can help us all in 4EU Plus to bring even further flexibility and approach to further community in 4EU Plus. I would like to put the thanks now in the end. At first, I would like to thank our flagship coordinators. Since the years behind us, there were more than 20 people who were in the leadership of flagships. Some of them are there since the beginning. Some of them were during the time there was a change in the leadership of some flagships, but I would like to thank all of them because they did a great job, and I'm really happy that 4EU Plus is reaching, thanks to the flagship, to the community, and really the bottom-up approach is living and viable. I can give an example of a number from Charles University. We have 17 faculties, and at all of the 17 faculties, we have some activities that are 4EU Plus. So we really reached to each of the faculty actively. Then I would like to thank all the teams that are making flagships alive. And in the end, I would like to thank all the organizers of this visioning conference, because it's great to see again. Oh, I'm sorry. It's great to see you all again. And I'm looking forward to meet our 4EU Plus community in Copenhagen on the annual conference. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Milena. We are running a little bit behind of schedule, but I would like to pass one very short question. Can you say how much funding in total has been available for the research mini grants over the last few years? Can you give a very quick, an approximate number?
It will be definitely thousands of euros, like tens of thousands of euros, but I don't have the exact number. It was a large part of work package 3 from the first call, from the first Erasmus Plus project. Lenka maybe knows the exact number.
Okay. Maybe you
Thank you very much. Thank you. So it is fourth round. Today we are going to approve at Rector's board meeting the 5th round, and each year we are giving, as Charles University, nearly 200,000 euros per year for mini grants. It means grants for development of research. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lenka. So let's switch to our next speaker, who is Sophia Schwemmer. She is from Heidelberg University, and she will, sorry, she will tell you a little bit more about building a legal entity for 4EU+. Please, yes. Sophia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I want to say a few words on the establishment of our legal entity, which is called 4EU+ e.V. So it's an association under German law, and the whole process has been taken care of by the team here in Heidelberg, which is also one of the reasons why we opted for German law in the end. Perhaps I can have the first slide. Yeah. So on this slide, I just tried to sum up some of the functions that a legal entity for 4EU+ was supposed to fulfill. To sum that up and not to lose too much time on that, I think what we were looking for was a legal entity that could provide us with a platform for to build up a truly common infrastructure. So to build a sustainable administrative and a sustainable governance structure that is truly common, truly shared, and that will make our alliance more sustainable. Can I have the next slide already? Yeah. So, and when we started out the process of finding a suitable legal form, of course, we had a very strong preference to find a European legal form, because that, of course, would have suited the idea of a truly European cooperation. And that's why we started out with a feasibility study in which we first examined the existing European legal forms. And as you see on that slide, they all turned out not to be suitable. And I want to stay here a little longer, because that's, I think, a point where the political discussion is now taking up speed. So why didn't we opt for one of those European forms? One form that would have been possible to choose was the Societas Europaea, an SE. That is a legal form that has been designed for public listed companies, and the legal structure is actually a very complex mix of an EU regulation, which is then and you also need to apply additional national laws when you found Societas Europaea. The foundation process is quite complex, because it's actually designed for large public listed company that will merge, and that's how you actually found an SE. So you need two national companies under national laws that are then combined by way of an international merger. So that's actually quite complex and quite would have caused lots of cost. Also, you have a relatively high minimum capital and relatively high accounting and transparency standards. So although the Societas Europaea would have been possible in theory, it turned out not to be a suitable legal form simply because it's designed for large public listed companies and not so much for the cooperation of educational organizations or for higher education entities. We then had a look at a few not so well-known legal forms of European law, which also turned out not to be perfect for our purposes. Perhaps to speak first about the ERIC, the European Research Infrastructure Consortium, that's actually a specific legal form for the establishment and operation of research infrastructure. So it at first glance it sounds like the perfect legal form for a European cooperation, but the problem is that the members of an ERIC would be the states, not the universities, and that of course didn't fit our concept. The same is more or less true for the European grouping of territorial corporations. The foundation at least requires consent of all member states, and it also would have been not an entirely independent process from that could have been steered by the universities themselves, which is also not what we wanted. The same is true for the European interest grouping. To make that last point, would have been a more flexible legal form that would have given us more independence. The problems were different there. You have an unlimited joint and several liability of the members, which would have been a problem under the laws of several member states, under the educational laws there, because the universities would have been potentially liable for debts incurred by the by our 4U plus entity, and it's also only open for joint economic activities. So that got quite long, but I found it important to actually show you why we haven't chosen a European legal form, but why we chose the pragmatic way to use a private entity under national law as an interim solution. And I can be quite brief, I think, on the next slides, if you can show them now. So what we then decided is to go for a legal form under German law, which had the very simple reason that the legal team establishing the legal entity was consisted of German lawyers. So we knew our German legal forms well, and not so much about, for example, associations under Belgian law, but it turned out that actually a registered association under German law is relatively flexible, and actually we were able to take our existing governance structure into the registered association, and we also got charitable status under German tax law, which allowed us to pick that legal form. We also, just to say one quick word about the GmbH, why didn't we pick that? National higher education regulations hindered the participation of our member universities in such a business entity. So that's why we picked the association and not the GmbH. I have then on the last slide just shown our incorporation process. I don't want to go too much into the details there, just to tell you that the timing, the time frame from our feasibility study to the foundation meeting, it was more or less 6 months, and then we had the administrative process of the registration, which also took a few months, but the adoption of our articles of association happened 6 months after we started the whole project. Sorry for being too long, but that's it's always difficult to explain legal problems in a few words.
Thank you, Sophia. Yes, it is difficult, and I think you made it very clear. Thank you very much for this. Just a short comment for the people who are following us on YouTube. I noticed that there's a short delay between the moment when I switch the slides here and you see it on the YouTube channel, about 10-15 seconds. So our YouTube viewers, please don't be surprised that our speakers are already speaking about the new slide and you still see the old one. All right, Sophia, I guess we will have questions maybe in the end if there's still time left. And now I would like to switch to our next speaker. And this is Professor Francesca Villata from the University of Milano. And without further delay, please, Francesca.
Thank you, Bernie, for giving me the floor. And thank you to the coordinator for having me to present Plus achievements and vision in the area of education. Of course, I'm here as a representative of an amazing group of colleagues with diverse background, competencies, and experiences who work with me in this area. I'm most grateful to all of them for the amazing learning experience that is working with them in For You Plus. Next slide, please. At For You Plus, we love to refer to the learning experience of our students as a journey that they decide to make within our alliance. At the same time, we see our role as researchers and lecturers as enablers who accompany our students in that journey and help them to collect diverse competencies, skills, and learning experience, and to put them in their backpack, in the hope that those experiences, competencies, and skills will be useful tools to overcome the work and life challenges that they will be confronted to. Next slide, please. Students are, of course, at the center of our activities in Alliance, and we aim to provide them both with a state-of-the-art and research-based multidisciplinary competencies channeled to the core flagships, and with a mindset built upon a set of shared competencies and metacognitive skills that enable them to cope with any future societal challenge. Such contents are conveyed thanks to an innovative educational framework that is supported by a set of academic development tools and mirrored into digital tools aimed at enhancing co-class students' learning experience. Such features include the joint educational activities that are offered to our students. And next slide, please. The For You Plus educational framework has at its core a set of pedagogical approaches, methodologies, and techniques that we see as effective for triggering a set of competencies and skills which define the For You Plus student profile. Next slide, please. To support our community of lecturers in their effort to deliver innovative education, certain training tools have been developed and many more are going to be made available in the upcoming 4 years. A repository of For You Plus teaching cards has been conceived and implemented. This repository has the shape of a user-friendly, quick-to-consult card, one for each teaching strategy or approach. The front of the card provides a definition of the term, while the back of the card presents a list of examples of different learning techniques suitable for incorporating the 4E+ values into 4E+ classroom. For instance, 1 minute paper or fishbowl is mentioned as a possible way to foster active learning. Discussing logical fallacies is a way to support critical thinking, so on and so forth. Additional references and short explanatory videos have been added for each of the different techniques. Those cards have become part of a localized 4E+ version of the activity-based curriculum workshop named ABCLD, i.e. Learning Design. Such training workshop has been developed by adapting and completing the existing ABC workshops, materials, and tools so as to make them functional to the deployment of the 4E+ educational strategy. Moodle and Draftio softwares are utilized to run certain activities in the workshop. Moreover, specific focus on research-based learning is granted via the RBL workshop delivered by Heidelberg University. Next slide, please. The 4E+ educational framework is mirrored in the upcoming 4E+ student portal. It has been designed around the concept of 3 personas endowed with a diverse range of skills and attitudes who make their journey within the Alliance, progressively enriching their learning experience both with educational activity and meaningful mobility. To further promote self-reflection about their learning experience in 4E+, students will also be encouraged to fill in the 4E+ e-portfolio and to keep it updated, even throughout their professional and personal life. Finally, the learning objective achieved, the learning content, and the ECTS acquired and more practical information are incorporated as a supplement to the 4E+ digital letter of attendance, through which our students can showcase and document their educational achievement and the competencies they have acquired. Next slide, please. The structure of the 4E+ offering has been progressively developing from single events where lecturers from 3 or more partners have the opportunity to work together and experiment innovative learning approaches and techniques, to cooperation on more comprehensive courses, set of courses, and full-fledged joint study programs. Next slide, please. So far, over 107,000 students, 180 academics have been involved in 61 joint educational projects. Quite a few of them are likely to evolve into joint degree programs. The first one in global environment and development having been recently awarded the Erasmus Mundus funds in the 2022 call. Moreover, a joint catalog of courses offered at 4E+ universities that can be accessed remotely and are available to all 4E+ students across the Alliance has been created and renewed semester after semester. Next slide. Additionally, 2 MOOC on cross-cutting substantial topics such as data literacy and European citizenship have been developed and made available via the Coursera platform. Finally, we believe that the 4E+ Alliance can accompany its students in their learning journey even after their degree by making available to them and to an interested learner lifelong learning educational activities that can take the form of micro-credentials, among others. Within the Alliance, across the various teaching formats, new forms of cooperation are being set. Different organizational structures are being piloted for the joint programs. New teaching formats, such as micro-credentials, are being conceptualized. Pioneering pedagogical techniques are being deployed. And seeds of innovation are quietly growing up also locally, thereby providing extremely tangible evidence of the transforming role of European universities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sophia. And well, we will take questions later. I remind all the people on YouTube that you can write questions in the chat and we will try to take them if there's time left at the end. And now I will switch to our next speaker. This is Daniela Sorge. She is head of the Academic Exchange Office at the University of Geneva, our newest and youngest member of 4U+. Please, Daniela.
Thank you, Bernie. I'm pleased to represent the University of Geneva, as you say, a very young member of this alliance. You can go to the next slide, please. We joined the association on the 1st August this year, and will be really active in the One Core project that will start on the 1st of November. But the members of our university are already integrating the Alliance in their activities, and they know it is important because as a Swiss university, we really need to be part of a European project since we are not part of European research and education programs. You can go to the next slide. So why is it important for the University of Geneva to be part of this alliance? First of all, it is important to be able to share knowledge and with European partners to meet tomorrow's challenges and build the future of Europe. We also want to actively participate in a project for the development of the European research and education areas. And we want to develop shared courses on joint curricula and increase student exchange for the benefit of our students. You can go to the next slide. So I will only focus on education, especially student exchange in this small talk. We already have agreements with almost all institutions of the Alliance. The only institution with whom we do not have an agreement is Copenhagen. But all these agreements are specific for certain disciplines. You can go to the next slide. We will be part of the general mobility agreement of the Alliance that will be signed this very week in Copenhagen. This agreement is between all universities of 4AU+ and has no specific disciplines except for a few exceptions. We know that exchanges will grow rapidly between our institution with this general agreement, because when you limit to certain disciplines, you hinder mobility. You have students who would like to come or go to another institution but cannot because the agreements are for specific disciplines. So with the signature of this new agreement, we're sure that numbers will raise rapidly. You can go to the next slide. Even if the One Core project has not started yet, and even if we're in the Alliance only since a few months, we already see first outcome for our online courses that that students from our partner universities can follow at the University of Geneva, in addition to their regular classes at their home institution. We opened the call to 4AU+ universities this fall semester, and we had 7 students who registered. So in just a few days, we could see that the fact of being part of the Alliance gave more visibility to our classes and attracted new students. This would be it if we want to be short, and we're happy to join this alliance and make more new projects together.
Thank you so much, Daniela, for this overview. And this shows that an alliance is never anything closed and finished, but it's always open and can evolve. So thank you for showing the advantages on joining 4AU+. We will come to our last speaker, and we'll go very fast because we are behind schedule. And I give the floor to Miriam Koch-Tvedgaard-Zeitzen from the University of Copenhagen. Please, Miriam.
Thank you, Professor Hasenknop. And I'll try to be very quick because I'm we are a little bit behind schedule. Yeah, so my name is Miriam, and I'm from University of Copenhagen, and I'm the project manager of Train for EU Plus. Next slide, please. Which is our R&I support function project. So it's a project that came in funded by Horizon 2020, which was the former research-based framework program from the Commission, to try to upscale the research dimension of the European Alliances, because as we've heard earlier today, the first part, the first 3 years were very much education focused with the Erasmus Plus funding. So we came in and started in January of last year on a 3-year project. And basically we are not a research project, but a project trying to develop and upscale the collaboration within our alliance on research and support functions within innovation and research, as I said. We've started in January, as mentioned, so that means we're about halfway through our project now, and we've just had a midterm review with the European Commission, which thankfully was approved. And what I would like to, since we have very little time, just a couple of highlights from this review and the kind of discussions we've had the Commission. What are the kind of things that we're working on in Train, and what are the things that we should look more on in the last period of our project? So it's only a 3-year project, but very much a project that tries to build within the Alliance that we both have, of course, an educational and a research stream. So please, the next slide. The first thing I just wanted to mention very briefly was a policy brief within these SWAFs projects. The funding from the Horizon 2020 projects is within this instrument, as you can see on the slide, called the Support with Enforced Science with Enforced Society. And one of the very important things that the Commission wants us to do within these projects is to actually contribute to the European research area. So the ERA policy agenda is one of the things that we are looking very much into in our project. So we had our first policy brief here last year, or this year, in fact. So this was a very interesting kind of co-creation effect just within our alliance, of course, but also with the Commission. So the Commission being a very important stakeholder for us. We actually went to Brussels to discuss this. And the feedback we got, and we were quite happy about this, of course, is that we've anchored our policy brief within Train. So we're very much building on the learnings and the kind of deliverables, the work we've been doing with Train, but we also took a very broad approach. So the kind of recommendations we made were to be relevant for all the alliances. And the Commission evaluated this positively, and we're of course happy that they thought we had an appropriate approach in terms of working with the other alliance, because of course a project like Train is focused on one level on internally an alliance or an inter-alliance collaboration, but it's very much also external. So we want to sort of upscale the inter-alliance work to the inter-alliance, so between the sister alliance, all the other European alliances. So this is very much a focus area we have in Train to try to be more externally oriented. So what are the learnings we have within Train? What are the kind of things we can use to build this collaborative space, not only with ourselves, but also very much with the other alliances. And that's why we have a very, very strong communication with the Commission, because as being, of course, a stakeholder in our project, we're also learning from them. And I think very much also the message we're getting, they're learning from us. So they often invite us in to sort of co-create things with them, because, of course, they are also trying to develop all this initiative for the European universities. And we are sort of important, as we also heard earlier today, important stakeholders in that. Next slide, please. So the other thing I just wanted to mention is that one of the focal areas we have within Train for EU Plus is the sharing of research infrastructure. It's something we work quite a lot on. It's quite a difficult area. It's quite a sensitive area within a lot of universities, but very much what we've been trying to do is try to build these collaborative spaces. Where is it that we can work together? Where can we share? And one of the things we did earlier this year was to have a conference where we try to bring out our learnings from within our alliance and share that with the other alliances. What are the things we can learn from each other? Suppose that we could learn from them, but they could learn from us as well. Again, of course, that the Commission was with us. And one of the things that was very important about this conference was not just within Train, the sharing of research infrastructure, but very much also the educational infrastructure. So we've heard a lot about this earlier today, to have these 2 dimensions of our alliance and work on that. So Train, I think the way we work in the team within Train, we have a great team, all the partners, except of course University of Geneva is not part of our, should mention, because they were not part of 4U Plus when we started our project. So unfortunately they can't be part of our project, but the next research project, hopefully they will be. A research focus project. But here again, so what we tried to do was to have both the educational and the research streams in, because it's very important to not have silo projects. So we do research here and education here, but very much work together, because we have to try to grow our alliance, and not just internally, but across the university landscape. So that's one of the things. And we're going to continue along that stream. Next slide, please. This is my last slide. Just to mention that we are having in March of this year a conference on citizen science. Again, it's to try to develop this, get this momentum going. This is an area that we really want to focus on within 4U Plus. All the partners I have feel this is an area that they would like to develop in. So again, it's this focus on implementing these joint learnings, to have the innovations within citizen science, but also the policy recommendations. So again, it's an area of great focus for the European Commission, just like research infrastructure. So we are choosing, trying to choose areas of focal areas that are both of interest within our alliance, but also very much speak into the kind of policy areas that the Commission is working on, to try to get that good dynamic going, where we are sort of learning, but also working within a larger European setting. That was it from me. I hope that was within the allotted time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Yes, you respected the time, but still we are behind the time schedule. So for those of you who have questions, you put them in the chat, and we will try to answer the questions in the chat by written, so that we do not go too far beyond the initial time frame. So you might also have your answer of your questions in the time frame. Miriam, you already mentioned how important it is to work with other alliances, and therefore I'm very pleased to hand over now to our next speaker from a partner alliance, ECIU, and Professor Sander Lotze, and I will stop my screen sharing so that he can share his screen. Please.
Yes, good afternoon to you all. Can you see my slides? Could you please confirm that you see my slides?
I don't see them yet.
Yes.
You do. Okay.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I'm not a professor, so let's get that out of the way. I'm Sander Lotze. I am the director of ECIU University, indeed one of the sister alliances. And thank you for having me on this conference. I know you're short on time, so I will try to do my best to be as precise as possible. Nevertheless, I would like to congratulate you with finalizing and with this congress, and also inviting me to this conference, because for me it's very interesting to see that there are a lot of similarities between what you are doing and what we are doing. And of course, we know that we are both first generation alliances, but it's very nice to see that you are, let's say, struggling with the same kind of projects, and that you're moving in the same kind of direction with the same kind of enthusiasm that we do in ECIU University. So I'm originally connected to the University of Twente from the Netherlands, but my daily life, as I said, is connected to ECIU University. Now, we are also a first generation alliance, and I give you a little bit of reflection before I give you the lessons learned, just that you understand who we are, and that you understand a little bit of the context of what I'm going to tell you in my next 6 to 7 slides. So we are, I think, the biggest alliance in Europe at the moment from the first generation. We are 13 plus. Plus is actually our partner in Mexico. They are not actively participating in ECIU University, but we are 13 members. So that's quite a large and extensive alliance that we are hosting. It goes from the north to the south, from the east to the west, and we represent in total, I think, even more than 300,000 students. Because recently our newest partner joined, and that's the TU Łódź from Poland. So it's quite a large group of universities. And what is different maybe from your own alliance is that this group of universities already knew each other. And we already know each other for 25 years. We celebrate our 25th anniversary the end of this year, actually, because we have been together from a long time ago. And the reason because of that is that all of the universities that you see on this slide actually have played and play a very pivotal role in the economic development in their region. So they are mostly even set up in order to make sure that there is an impact, both societal as economical impact in the region. And that's something which unites all of these universities. So the universities have a common background and common DNA, and that is actually why these universities came together 25 years ago. And 3 years ago, when this initiative actually came up, we thought that reinventing, reimagining the concept of what a university should look like at European level, probably like yourselves, was actually a very good idea, really fitting to this innovative approach and also the regional impact, the regional role that we as universities actually have. So that is what unites us and what brings us together. And that probably also explains our vision and what we're trying to achieve. So here you see ECIU University, our European university. And as you notice, their lines are actually, I hope that you notice, the lines are actually, and the connections between the stakeholders are actually changing all the time. And we believe that the concept of a European university, ECIU University in this case, is not a single model where we actually are aiming for a vision in 2030. No, it's actually a connection between our regions, amongst the regions, with our students, with our researchers, and between our universities. So the concept of a university is actually the concept of an ecosystem. So the concept of connecting to each other, making sure that we, depending on what kind of needs our ecosystem partners actually have, bringing them together and connecting them. That's actually our mission as what we need to do as a European university. So that is something that we have put very central, not only in our DNA of our member universities, but also in the DNA of us as a European university. So what does it mean for our educational vision? Our educational vision is actually based upon 5 steps, so a 5-step approach, which I think has a lot of resemblance with some of the instruments that I heard in your presentations. So we start in our university with a challenge, a real life challenge, a concept coming from one of our stakeholders or from multiple stakeholders in our alliance. Then the challenge is actually brought to our learners, where the learners can actually engage in multidisciplinary European teams in trying to solve those challenges. The idea of solving the challenges only as an exercise, as challenge-based learning, is not sufficient. And what we try to offer is not only the challenge-based learning concept, but we try to offer all of the courses that our member universities currently offer as packages, as small packages, micro courses, if you will, small packages of learning in order to assist our group, our team, to try to tackle the challenge, because we know that the competences and the skills and the knowledge that they are lacking or that they're seeking for is something that we as European university can actually unitely bring to the table to our students. So that is what we're trying to do. We're picking a challenge from our society, we bring a team into the middle, and we're trying to arrange around that concepts of education which actually support and help these teams in solving those challenges. Of course, our students can also, and our learners can also take individual courses as they can at your university, but that is our core model, our vision of education. Then after they have actually finished the challenge, the concept with us is that they get a competence passport, and that these skills, these competences, and the content is actually put into a European passport, and that passport is constantly updated, and people can re-engage into the European university to solve yet another challenge or go to their next skills or competence, depending on the individual needs of the individual learners. So as you hear, probably, it's a model that actually is a little bit outside of the member universities, but is heavily dependent on the content, the resources of course, the member universities. And that is exactly what we have been trying to build up in the last 3 years, and which has taken a lot of time and a lot of effort, but we're very proud of actually presenting this as a model that functions in practice as well. I also heard the concept of the micro-credentials. I will go into that in another slide, but the concept of micro-credentials is actually the recognition, of course, of the skills, the competences, and the knowledge that our students have taken in our program. So what is our focus area? As yourselves, you are calling it flagships. We are calling it one SDG. We have actually focused on one, but we didn't just choose one. We chose the one which was closest to the DNA of our member universities. As I just said in the introduction, all of our member universities play a pivotal role in the economical and societal development of our regions. And that is why a regional focus, a resilient focus of our regions is actually, and sustainable citizen communities was the closest to that concept, is that's the one that we chose. In that concept of SDG 11, we have 4 research topic areas. One is energy and sustainability. The other one is circular economy, transport and mobility, and resilient communities, as I just mentioned. So what have we achieved in the last 3 years? Well, that was a nice exercise and very hard to do that in 15 minutes and on one slide or a few slides. But what we have actually managed to do is to move from a network to a real university alliance. And that might sound like something relatively simple, but as you all know, and you are all busy within the European universities, that is not very easy. Working as a network is one thing. Working towards a common goal, a common vision with common instruments is an enormous job. And as you know, I'm actually very happy that we have achieved that during the COVID period, where it was absolutely not as easy as we have envisioned it in the beginning of the project. But we've actually moved along from a network to more sustainable structures and coming up with a common vision. We came up with that vision quite early in the process because we saw that it was important not to just have loads of instruments and work packages delivering something in the project, but actually making sure that we're building towards a common vision, towards what we would like to see as a European university. And as I said, in our case, that's an ecosystem model, which we put into a vision and adopted that vision with our presidents and rectors, and dubbed that Connects You for Life, which the U stands for you as an individual or you as university, depending on how you want to interpret that. So what have we tried to, what have we actually achieved content-wise? We have had more than 70 challenges. We have had 285 micro learning offerings from our member universities. And one of the, let's say, context that I put out is that we've also tried to not only have these small challenges where students actually embark on our learning offerings, but also move towards longer periods of working on a challenge, which is up to 30 ECTS. We've had actually a strategic challenge where students were engaged for around half a year to a year to take their master thesis and jointly with other universities, other students in other universities, work upon the concept of the master thesis. Another point that ECIU has been active on is the concept of the micro-credentials, as I already mentioned. We are, I think, one of the first to work with the European blockchain concept that has been developed. It's called EPSI, and we have been piloting the concept of storing those skills and competences in a European blockchain concept. And I'm very happy that some of our partners are very, very active in making sure that we pilot that in a very early stage to understand what it means and what it can actually bring to the European level. We've been working with the concept of challenge-based research. I just heard also that you have a SWOFs project. We also have a SWOFs project. That is a very, very important component. I don't think that building a European university can be done without the context of research and innovation, or else we're actually building I would say, a very weak resemblance of what a university should actually be. It should be founded thoroughly in research and innovation, and that is something which is absolutely not easy, and that is something which we've been working upon as well in the last 3 years. Also, we build an IT platform. We actually have experimented with VR. Because of the pandemic, we thought it would be a good idea to set up a virtual reality campus to put people into with their glasses on, and to actually, not physically, but at least have the idea that they meet up and together work on those challenges with their glasses on. That's something that we have been experimenting with, and I'm very happy that we actually launched that a year ago. And another main achievement that I took out is the recognition accord, very closely to what you've just mentioned, and that's the concept of recognizing that whatever you learn in the context of European university is also recognized by the home university. It sounds like a very easy thing, but we all know that in practice, it's not always working like that. So I'm very happy that we've actually agreed upon that. So what are the lessons learned? what's the impact? Sorry, yeah, first the impact. So what's the impact on the learners of what we've been doing in the last 3 years? First of all, this concept of challenge-based learning has been seen as a very stimulating model. Our university students are very enthusiastic about the concept of a challenge, the freedom that they get to actually choose their own role in the solving the challenge. And also our teachers are very, let's say, happy of working with this a little bit of different concept of teaching. As we know, the classical way of teaching is always standing in front of the classroom and telling others, as I am now doing, what actually the content the content of a presentation is. But in this context, the concept of a teacher has been actually changed, or from a professor, much more changed to facilitating the concept of learning. And that is something that also from a skills and competence development is not, let's say, logical for everybody, and has been a challenge for many of our professors, but a very nice and enticing move. Also, the concept of working in a European team, interdisciplinary, is something that our students really appreciate. What I have to say is that the concept of working together is on a challenge is one thing, but as we know, where learning in a multicultural context is even more challenging and is very rewarding. Then, if you look at our member universities, I think the impact on our universities ourselves is that the context of reimagining the future of education and research and innovation has actually set a lot of thinking at the executive, let's say, levels of our member universities. Because what it actually is that we would like to achieve, as I just mentioned, is something completely different than what our member universities currently do in their national context. And that let's say, push for innovation, that discussion we had with our rectors to actually reimagine what we can actually do in a clean sheet, which we would do it all over again, was very beneficial for our member universities to also rethink what their own strategic context is. And a lot of our member universities have actually taken up ECIU University as the way forward when it comes to imagining how we want to work with education. So the concept of challenge-based learning, CBL, is really something that a lot of our member universities have embraced at the highest strategic levels. Maybe the last point on my on this slide, I'm not sure how that is in your alliance, but our members have overperformed a lot, I have to say. So the whole idea of building a European university with a few million euros sounds very nice, but in practice, as we know, costs much more money, much more time, and much more dedication that we've foreseen 3 years ago. So that's something that I've learned, is that it really takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I can tell you, with 13 universities, that's even more than with 7 universities, to make sure that we all move in the same direction. So what are the lessons learned? Last 2 slides. So from the educational point of view, I know I have 2 slides. From the educational point of view, the concept of working together can't be done in a purely online environment. That's absolutely impossible. So the concept of mobility, as we just heard also from you, is absolutely important. Another lesson that we learned, we tried to start extracurricular with this concept, but we recognized, probably also post-COVID, because of COVID, that students are very much under pressure and are stressed at the moment. So the concept of doing something on the side doesn't really fit in the current framework of learning, and we are moving back into the curricular to make sure that the offerings that we are creating together is actually integrated. Doing an educational change without our teachers, I just mentioned it, and making sure that they are champions is absolutely impossible. So the teachers as change leaders is absolutely crucial. And when I also mentioned already around research and innovation, I don't think that the European University will actually exist in the long run if we don't integrate our research and innovation in our university. So that is absolutely important. And other than what the current frameworks of the European Commission is actually offering us, I don't think that the current framework is actually fit for a European university, as they are all focusing on excellence. And what we are trying to do, at least I think we are doing that as ECIU, but probably also you, is actually change management and impact. And that is something completely different than only striving for excellent research, which is valid point, but not for building up a new university. And as we know, research and innovation is partly run, as we also heard about your research funds, by moving funds. Last point, large networks are not an advantage. As I already mentioned, moving 13 universities is an absolute, let's say, big challenge, and is also not valued by the European Commission when it comes to the amount of members that you have. So that's something that we learned. Strategizing at one thing and developing new contexts is important, but it actually takes much more time to make sure that we actually operate our changes. So that's another lessons learned from a management perspective, is that the strategizing and developing is okay, but let's make sure that we actually operate this as well. This is something that has not been taken into account in our project, at least not at the beginning, and has proven to be very, very important also in the future. And last but not least, let's take the last bullet point, and that is that this is not a project. I think you actually started with that. This is a program, or actually a mission and a vision that we actually have. That costs a lot of time, and that means that we need a programmatic approach from the European Commission and also from our own mindset. Thank you.
Thank you so much for these very interesting insights in your European University Alliance. Very interesting, and I would love to discuss so many points that you raised. But the format that we have here does not allow for that. So I hope we can do this some other time. Again, those on YouTube, please post your questions in the chat, and we will try to answer them also in the chat. And with this, I will finish this first part on the milestones and the impact of the last 3 years. And I will hand over to my colleague Marta Lies from Heidelberg, colleague and student from Heidelberg, for the next part, For You Plus in Action. Please, Marta.
Okay, I hope you can hear me, because I was lost for a second with sharing my screen. Yes, so I'm Marta Lies. I'm a student at Heidelberg University, but not only that, I'm also the vice chair of the student committee of For You Plus. It is really important to mention for the students watching us that on each university you have student representatives, which you can contact whenever you are going to another city to do some courses, if you have any questions, or yeah, you want to give us a feedback about how For You Plus is working for you. We are very happy to hear it always. In our panel today, we have 4 speakers, which will talk about their experience with different courses and programs at For You Plus. So it's For You Plus in action. If you will have any questions, just write it in the chat. We will try to answer it on the end of the conference. What I also wanted to say is that we are very happy to have University of Geneva on our side in For You Plus Alliance. And because all the time students are mentioned during this conference, I can say and assure you that For You Plus is really for you. It's like we have our voice, we have platform to share our experiences. We are always involved in different events, like today, for example. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And I will be really quick because we are not having so much time. So a first speaker will be Thibault Grissen from Sorbonne University, and he will share his experience about joint course. Thibault, you can introduce yourself shortly, and yeah, please keep in mind that we don't have much time. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Can everyone see me and hear me? Perfect. So, hi everyone. My name is Thibault Grissen, and thank you to the organizers for this invitation. I am a French PhD student. I work in communication sciences at SKY, which is the Sorbonne Center for Artificial Intelligence. And for my thesis, I'm working on the issue of algorithmic discrimination in social networks. And in this context, I was invited to participate to the creation and the development of one of the educational projects of the 4-Year+ Alliance called Thinking AI. Here, the idea is not to present to you what the educational project is about, but really to tell you how this experience was really formative for me and how I benefited from this experience. For someone like me who intends to work in the academic field later in my career. So with this opportunity, I was invited to share my first results of my research work and train myself to create and participate into an online course alongside professors from different universities of the Alliance. And this project was, in fact, an opportunity for me to put my thesis reflections in writing and learn how to share them with students with the creation of this module. In this context, I was also invited to the University of Milan in June in a conference about ethical issues of artificial intelligence. And beyond visiting the city, which I loved, of course, I was able to meet fellow professors and also students with whom I'm still in contact today to exchange about our respective research and to create working groups. And next January, in this regard, we will also organize another event in Paris, which has not been announced yet, which is a spoiler, but I wanted to tell you this because it's an opportunity to meet these people again. In fact, sometimes when I go to conference or when I go abroad, I don't have the opportunity to see these people again and really bond with these people and work on our collective research and collective issues together. And the last point would be perhaps the opportunities that this program offered to me as a PhD student. As I told you, this was the first time that I was part of an educational project like this one. And since this opportunity, at La Sorbonne, I was asked to develop another educational project. So it really benefited me in a way to gain confidence and to have other opportunities. And all in all, I would say that it valued and it gave me the opportunity to share my research work. But it also allowed me, of course, to travel, to meet other colleagues in Italy, for example, and I hope to meet more people from different universities of the Alliance later. And finally, of course, allowed me to create future working groups, students, of course, but also professors who were interested in my research and whom I benefited a lot from my PhD thesis. That's all for me.
Thank you very much, Thibault, for sharing your experience. And we go now to our second speaker, which is Karolina Mroziewicz from University of Warsaw. She is a professor and will be sharing her experience regarding 4U+ educational projects. Karolina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Marta, for the introduction. I hope you can already see my screen. I'm very glad to have this opportunity to share my experience with 4U+ project, which was both very exciting on the academic and personal level. So I had a pleasure of being a coordinator of a one-year educational module, which was entitled Visual Literacy, Understanding Images Across Europe, Past and Present. It was project carried out in the collaboration with 3 universities, Charles University, University of Milan, and University of Warsaw from October 2021 to June 2022. And we are very lucky to start the new edition of the project very soon in November this year. So this project was a great opportunity to build a vibrant international community of teachers, art historians, art educators, also artists and curators, as well as a lively community of students from all 3 universities, who within the framework of the project did their own art pieces reflecting on pre-modern media and technology, and then they were included in the final learning process portfolios. The students created their own artistic scientific group projects, and most importantly, they able to sustain their collaboration, and they continue working together within the framework of a new 4U+ student mini-grant student project, which is about the challenges of decolonization. So sharing the perspective of an academic teacher, I would like to say that this 4U+ didactic model offered us very fertile ground for the introduction of innovative didactic methods in teaching art history and visual culture. So we took the intercultural background of our students, their dissimilar academic and disciplinary experience as a starting point, this gave us a chance to create an opportunity for the students to explore and experience firsthand the cultural framework of the ways in which images were and are perceived. And by this, we were also able to raise critical thinking and reflection about the ways the canons of knowledge were created and the process of knowledge making. A very important task for us as teachers was to find a way of supporting, not really dominating, the group learning process. And we did it through tutoring programs and through building opportunities for the students' interplay with objects of art. And it took place mainly during the free field workshops in Milan, in Prague, and in Warsaw. And during the online classes, we try to experiment with the usefulness of material and digital images in developing and sharing concepts and ideas. Because our module was devoted to medieval art, early modern art, as well as contemporary culture, it was very important for us to find a way of bridging the past culture with contemporary one. And we did it by implementing several innovative didactic methods, such as reconstruction, critical making, reconstruction of pre-modern technologies, and hands-on investigation. So I believe that the 4EU+ project made it possible to create and effectively test didactic methods, not only in terms of standard online conversatory classes based on problem-oriented and inquiry-based teaching, but also tutorials which used critical making and hands-on investigation, and workshops based on the field work. And we were able to I think, creates an interesting system of classes in a blended formula, which uses distance learning and traditional one, and make use of all merits and advantages of the intercultural character of the 4EU+ students community. So thank you so much for your attention, and I'm really glad that I had a chance to speak about this very exciting time we spent together with the students and faculty members working together on this module. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolina. Very interesting project. I hope we can have more of those projects in the future organized. Now I will try to share a video from our next speaker, which is Fabiana Meloni from University of Milan. And she is administrative staff and will be sharing her experience regarding A4U Plus staff mobility. So I hope you can see it, and I hope it will be also possible to hear what Fabiana has to say.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Fabiana and I come from Italy. I work at the Faculty of Law of the University of Milan, and I deal with the organization of conferences and communication through social media and websites. Unfortunately, I can't stay with you this afternoon, but I've made this video because I'm so happy to tell you about my experience at Sorbonne University. This summer, I participated in the Staff Mobility for Training program, an opportunity for us to realize foreign exchanges with the purpose of observing the organization of foreign universities and sharing best practices. So thanks to 4U Plus Alliance, I had the opportunity to spend 2 weeks at Sorbonne University and work with international colleagues. I worked at the 4U Plus Alliance office and at the communication department because I'm so interested in improving my communication and digital skills, and I wanted to know about the organization of international alliances. I'm very grateful for this opportunity because I had the possibility to share my work experience with international colleagues and observe their manner of working. And this is the best way to learn and gain knowledge. During my mobility, I worked with each colleague like project officers, pedagogical engineers, social media managers, graphic designers, and editors. And they showed me their activities and we compared our ways of working. I was so lucky to take part also in the French presidency of the European Union event in Versailles with the 4U Plus staff members, and I had the honor to meet the French Minister of Higher Education, and on this occasion I had also the pleasure to meet the other European University Alliances and discussed about international programs. So this experience has helped me to grow professionally and personally, giving me the opportunity to get involved and create new relationships with people from all the world. So thank you 4U Plus Alliance for this opportunity, and have a nice day. And remember, this is 4U Plus Alliance. Bye.
So this was Fabiana from University of Milan, and again we can hear how much 4U Plus has to offer, not only courses for students but also opportunities to just grow and develop as a professor, as administrative staff. Which is really great. We have all levels involved in 4U Plus, in work of 4U Plus. Our next speaker, and the last one actually, will be Katrin Brun-Funch from University of Copenhagen, and she will share her administrative perspective on student mobility. So Katrin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I'm the Erasmus Plus coordinator at the University of Copenhagen, and I will share a brief presentation about our numbers for semester mobility before and after we became a member of the 4U+. And luckily, we can see that there is a huge development in the mobility numbers. So I will just take you through it. Just a second. Yes. So before we joined 4EU+, we had several small agreements with the 4EU+ partners within certain smaller study fields. You can see on the slide, the smallest agreement we had with Milan, and the others were also very small. And after we became a member of 4EU+, we changed these small agreements to one large agreement with all 4EU+ partners for all study fields. And that meant that there were easier access for our students and for 4EU+ students to either come to University of Copenhagen or students to go from University of Copenhagen to other 4EU+ partners. And that has made a huge difference in the mobility numbers. So I have made a slide here where you can see what happened with the semester mobility numbers before 4EU+ and after 4EU+. So before 4EU+, we had approximately 27 students each year going to or going inside the 4EU+ alliance. And after we became a member of 4EU+ and made this larger agreement for this year, 2022-23, we have 125 students going from University of Copenhagen to 4EU+ partners, and 115 students coming to University of Copenhagen from other 4EU+ partners. We are very happy for these numbers. What's next? We hope that we can increase the numbers even more. Also with University of Geneva being a new partner where we will sign an agreement later this week at the annual meeting. And we also hope that with more students traveling within the 4EU+ alliance, they will share their experience and hopefully the students can tell other students to go on mobility within 4EU+. I think that was it. Any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, you can put questions in the chat and we will try to answer it later on the end of the conference, maybe. Yeah, I hope also for University of Copenhagen that we will have more students. I am here because of the annual meeting right now, and the city is beautiful. It's really easy to travel with metro. You have a lot of places where as a student you can go have some fun, and apart from that you can just come and join some courses and learn something and work with other students. And I hope, like for every university, we will get more students. As I said, every university has a students representative. So if anyone will be wanting to already connect with other students at the university you travel to, you can ask at your local office for our phone numbers or emails, and we will just guide you and meet with you at the universities and have some fun together. I think that was it from me. Thank you very much for our speakers. And again, thank you very much for having me here, for having also students involved in this conference. And I will give the floor to Sabine.
Thank you very much, Marta. Thank you. So we will start our last session with the panel discussion. We will start our discussion maybe with asking some question, and I will start with Lenka Rovna, 4EU+ representative from Charles University and management committee member of 4EU+. Lenka, maybe you could start to tell us what was achieved and tell us where do you think we are going now.
Thank you very much. I had to count several times and I came to the number 5, that in September, it was in 2017, 5 years ago, the famous speech of President Macron was presented at Sorbonne University. And I was thinking what all happened during these 5 years. Where are we now? What we have achieved? Because at that time, in his long speech, he had a short part devoted to the idea of European universities. And then I thought how important it was that universities who were interested, that they became part of the preparation of the call, that after the call was launched or even before, that we are important player at European stage. It was said before by Vanessa de Biais-Santon that we are a stakeholder as alliances. We see that not only in education, but also research, European research area in many other fields. So, but it's not only for the Commission, it is for European Parliament. So we are asked for our opinion. We also present it in the Parliament. We will present as well. And the same is at our member states level with our ministries of education, accreditation agency, that we are recognized entities. We also know that some associations like Coimbra Group, LERO, and some other were worried once the idea of the alliances was developed that there may be competition. But on the contrary, what happened that there is complementarity with LERO because 4EU Plus was founded on the basis of LERO CE7 when the 4 founding universities were Sorbonne, Heidelberg, Charles University, Warsaw, and then others, members of LERO were added. So this is what we are, what we achieved regarding the external world. But then Milena Kraličková, students, they all spoke, and my predecessor spoke about creation of communities, that going from the top, from the leadership of universities, our rectors, vice rectors, staff, how we are sharing best practices or doing things together. For instance, creation of student systems, students portal, information systems, quality assessment. So our researchers, we very much like the presentation by the rector of Charles University about flagships, that there is a lot of life, and we are so happy that students are included. So I think that during these 5 years, that at the European landscape, alliances and 4EU Plus and many others became important players. It's also wonderful to cooperate with other alliances. It was said before, and I can give another example. I see Peter Levens, and who represents Una Europa and University of Leuven, that we are one of those who applied for European project for European degree label, so that, or with EUIC, we support them and cooperate with them regarding legal entity. So I think, and I hope, and maybe I will be involved in the future debate about what factors of success there are, that we are useful. We also consider that the idea was useful and that we have perspectives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lenka. About all those wonderful projects that you were just talking about, we need capacities. So I want to address a little bit this question, maybe to Siegfried Martin-Diaz, who is the head of Unit for European Affairs for the French Ministry of Higher Education. Siegfried, could you tell me how we can deepen the pooling of resources in European universities alliances, according to you?
Thank you very much, Sabine, and hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me for this event. I guess this event is to be seen in a much more broader scale, which is at the end of the pilot phase of the European Universities Initiative, and we expect huge discussions, important, interesting discussions, such as today, and about the assessment of the impact of the whole initiative and the impact of each European universities. Has been said, 3 years. We are 3 years after the launch of the pilot phase. There is this new phase that has been launched by the Commission right now during the summer, and we are 2 years before the midterm evaluation of the multi-annual financial framework, which means maybe thinking about how Erasmus, how Horizon Europe, how other programs can be maybe a little bit fine-tuned, in particular for initiatives such as this one. And we are also 2 years before drawing lessons from the experimentation that will be launched at the beginning of next year regarding the degrees and the statute. So the whole idea of the initiative is about sharing and pooling resources. Lenka just mentioned the discourse from President Macron, and he talked about networks of universities combining studies. So it all came from there, and all the head of states and governments said the same in December 2017. So the networks are about pooling resources, and more broadly, they are about transnational cooperation, which will include at some point putting things in common, putting persons, putting knowledge, putting capacities. So you have very much more experience than I do regarding pooling of resources, because you are testing this since the beginning of the initiative. What I propose in my intervention is maybe to refocus a little bit on the most recent institutional framework for pooling resources first, and then I will also maybe address the question of pooling resources for alliances, which is quite interesting as well for you. So regarding the institutional framework, it has been said by Vanessa at the beginning of this conference, but I wanted to come back to it. We have now a new framework for the European cooperation in higher education, which is the European strategy empowering higher education institutions for the future of Europe. It sets 4 priorities, which are, of course, you can take it or not. Of course, it really matters that there is a strong ownership of higher education institution on this strategy, but there are the European dimension of higher education research and innovation, the European international cooperation with international partners, the focus on recovery, green and digital transition, and the strengthening of the European sense of belonging. So, of course, pooling resources will mean different things according to which priority you will target. Building joint educational programs, this will be more for the sense of belonging. Defining joint approach towards international partners, this is another kind of pool, strategic pooling of resources, but this is more for international strategy, and I could go on and on. So first, well, before discussing how, of course, you have to address which is the priority you want to target. Of course, as well, pooling resources will mean different things according to the different models. There are, we know this since the 3 first years of the pilot phase. We know that there are diverse models of alliances. Certain islands will go as far as possible into the mutualization at institutional level, and some will maybe more focus on a few strategic topics, and for the rest, of course, it will be set aside. So in this context, with the strategy, we have a new tool which is the recommendation and building bridges for effective European higher education. And in this recommendation, there is a new, let's say, a new date, a new agenda. The new agenda says that in 1 year, in April 2023, Member States are supposed to inform the Commission on measures that are going to be taken regarding the objectives of the recommendation. The recommendation is all about transnational cooperation, pooling resources, how you go with the joint European degree or label, how you go with the possible statute as well. So in 1 year, we will have a first meeting, first agenda item for this. In this context, of course, as I said, there is the experimentation launched in the European regarding the European degree label and the possible statute. And on this point, I just want to mention that the statute is just a tool. Of course, it depends on what you want to achieve, and we shouldn't focus on a one-size-fits-all approach with a possible statute that nobody will use. So it's very important that you envisage the whole set of possibilities that are already here in the national frameworks, but also the different kinds of statute that can exist at national level. And I know that 4EU Plus has a statute of a German association, if I'm not mistaken. And the second point, and I will be very brief, the second point I wanted to address is pooling resources for alliances. This is way more challenging, but this is way more strategic and impactful. Today, I have I think it's a good news to say that 26 out of the 27 member states contribute to their higher education institutions that are part of European universities alliances. 26 out of 27. Maybe sometimes they do it directly, like France or like Germany, and more recently we have learned that our colleagues from the Netherlands are also putting funds to help their higher education institutions, and they also can do it indirectly. So indirectly, for example, through performance-based modalities. So all in all, nearly 100% of member states are supportive in providing funds for the European Universities Initiative. But it's go more than that, because colleagues from Switzerland, as we have learned, they have also put resources to help their universities getting together with certain alliances, and I know it's the case for Geneva colleagues for HEIs Plus. So this is a great news. What can we do from them? We have in the conclusions set a very nice paragraph that reads that in order to help alliances of higher education trying to work better to get together, there should be pilot approach for a possible solution that should be tested by the Commission in consultation with member states, and this is all about a joint mechanism to gather funds. Or pooling resources, aligning them at least in order to support the education, but also the research and innovation and all the type of transnational activities that are being done by higher education institutions in alliances. In this field, the work will begin very early 2023 on what is called the European Excellence Initiative. This is within Horizon Europe, and there will be a work within the European research area to design a kind of joint mechanism that could be tested, opening the way for maybe in 2027, but there could be pilot phase before, in 2025, regarding how member states and Commission can work together to support at least the research part much more strongly. And to finish with, I think that pooling resources is also much more about structural dialogues between alliances and different alliances. And today is a very good example. During the French presidency, we also organized several events to allow discussion between alliances, but also with member states and the Commission. I think this is it's very important that there is this trilateral dialogue, because otherwise we cannot succeed. And last but not least, I think it's really important when you want to pool resources to go and discuss also with the national authorities, with the national players, to know more about what you intend to do and what are the challenges that you are facing.
Thank you very much, Siegfried, for this very complete answer and all this important information you shared with us. Maybe I would like to shift now towards the subject of sustainability. Antonella Baldi, my colleague, Vice Rector for International Affairs from Università degli Studi di Milano, also a member of the management committee of Plus.
Thank you.
Antonella, could you tell me how do you think we can achieve the sustainability of the European alliances in general, and maybe a little bit more precisely, how do you foresee the progressive embedding of the educational activities of the alliances in the universities?
Thank you.
And the link between education and research, maybe.
Research, of course. Anyway, thanks to Lenka, and of course, I'm very happy to hear from Sigrid as well, new insights in the future of funding, especially, and funding tools. But just I would like to start picking up a few comments that was raised during this conference that was addressed many times that make these European university initiatives really something of different compared to what we have experienced before in terms of programs. The first one is the strong collaborative aspects. This came out several times during this conference and was peculiar. Even if based on competitive course, we are asked to collaborate, to speak each other continuously, do not become separate units of alliances, but speak each other with exchanging problems, exchanges results, with similar formats like today, but even more large with all the alliances together in a forum of discussion. This is quite innovative, quite good, and promoting a true transformative pathways in front of us. The other one that was raised again from Vanessa, but also Siegfried, is that since the beginning, the co-creation process with the member states was peculiar and fundamental in this kind of initiative, in these alliances work. And the last European degree level call that now is under evaluation is even strengthen this link. And that's quite important to be really transformative. We need, of course, member states. And third, but I would like first, in my perspective of teachers and researchers, is the link between the bridge between research and education. We were in my life, 40 years of work in university, we know very well how research and education went parallel. We were teachers and researchers. Now we want to be researchers in teaching, teachers in research. And our For You Plus alliances focus very much on this aspect, as you have seen since the beginning with these 4 flagships, but also with this research-based learning approach. We have listened before from Francesca, but also for the other colleagues explaining that. So this link is fundamental also for the sustainability, and the SWAP project as well has focused on this, giving support to research and innovation dimension, but also considering students like the engine of all these innovative aspects. And be more on the embedding, sustainability and embedding. For the embedding is another story. We have a project, we have a programs. Now all these achievements, all the new things must enter in our real life of universities. Without that approach, is lacking. And to do this, of course, I don't speak about funding because we have already here, Sigrid spoke about that. And of course, this is a conditio sine qua non, if I can use a Latin term. But I spoke of another aspects, which are human resources. HR is fundamental to be addressed because we see in our work that we have tremendous differences between states. And here again, member states play a fundamental role for the recognition of our work as international work as well. That is not so much recognized, sorry to say, in our universities. Of course, their role in the career, because young researchers must be involved, giving them the real and true concrete signal that these are activities important for their career. So I know that in this moment, there is a big work and a big, of course, reflection on research careers in Europe. But if we do not take advantage of this moment to say international, transnational, or you can call as you want, activities are fundamental also for the career, not only publication, of course, teaching, but also this, as much it is included in these aspects, we will be not sustainable. We will not allow the real embedding in our universities. And of course, again, the speed of change. Well, the European Universities Initiative has a new dimension to the institutional approach to international collaboration. We have a high speed, but at the same time, our institution has a little bit slower. And member states, even if they try to change all the pathways also of accreditation and of new educational pedagogical aspects in the universities are of course slower. So we have to combine these different speeds. That is quite important as well. So I would like to conclude because I think that my time is over, but I think that if we want to address the sustainability of and the embedding of course all our activities into our real lives, implementing them in a long term, we have to consider very, very careful what happened inside our institution in terms of recognition, career advancement, time and money for people management, and all these aspects that now it's time to consider because otherwise implementation is difficult. Thank you. I can maybe say something more, but I think I was over my 5 minutes.
That's perfect. Thank you, Antonella. In the same vein, maybe, I have the pleasure to welcome Daniela Trani, who is the director of UFE, the Young Universities for the Future of Europe. I would like to ask you how we can build on the successes of European universities alliances. And what do you think are the factors of success for that? And maybe you could also tell me your opinion of what Antonella just told us about the question of the revision of evaluation of the institution and the researcher recognition on those new activities. Daniela?
Thank you, Sabine, and good afternoon to all the colleagues in the room and to all the attendees. Thanks for inviting me to contribute to this really interesting event. I want to congratulate you and the entire 4U Plus Alliance and community for what you have achieved. And also thank you for stimulating this discussion. Well, Sabine, if you will allow me, I will start from the second question, because I think that in order to define how we can build on the successes, it's important to reflect on what are the factors that contribute to them. Well, I think coming from an alliance that is like ECIU quite large, UFE includes at the moment 10 universities from 10 different countries and 2 non-academic partners. It is really key to formulate a very clear vision together, a vision that has to be owned by everyone. So all partners have to co-own the values that are at the basis of an alliance that's being developed, and they also have to be able to prioritize together. And this means that strengths of the partners need to become the foundation of this future European university. At least this is how we in young universities for the future of Europe have been thinking. The second is a goal has to be clear, what an alliance is aiming to achieve. And like also someone else mentioned, we cannot have one-size-fits-all models. So depending on the aim that we are trying to achieve, depending on the goal, we can define our model and the instruments. And this means also then, coming to a third point, to be able to prioritize. I think Siegfried was mentioning the importance of priorities. That's also why sometimes maybe the discourse, the conversation with member states appears to be challenging, because member states have to prioritize. And I think that's something that we need to do more in the next phase for European universities, having achieved already progress and concrete results together. I think alliances are in an even better position to decide what they're going to prioritize on, be these all areas, education, research and innovation, service to society, or only some of them for a period. And in each of these areas, what are concretely the added value activities that we are trying to launch. So I think concreteness is also key. And this implies having very clear what the alliance is bringing to each institution, to each partner. Because in every country, in every institution, there are already incredibly successful and impactful programs, research lines, institutes, cooperations with the surrounding ecosystem. So I think it's really important together to be able to describe what are we adding then as European universities. And this will allow us to really lobby by example. It's not only living by example, but lobbying by example means to be able to explain not only in theoretical terms, but also concretely how the cooperation of several universities and of also other stakeholder groups is bringing to each institution, to each local community, to each national system, something that was not there before. If we are able to put all these factors together, then I think that talking about how we can build on the successes of the alliance, we have to again go back, and I will mention what Siegfried said again, to provide proof of concept. So proof of concept, it's not only the content, it's not only the method or methodology set up to cooperate, but it's also all the surrounding implications, be these financial, regulatory ones. And that's where we as alliances really need the member states and the Commission, of course, but especially the member states to get, I would call it a space where we can really fully experiment. So if we are able to develop bottom-up with involvement of the lecturers, the researchers, the students, those added value activities that lead potentially to an unprecedented impact at academic level, but also at societal level, we need to have more flexibility, agility to really experiment them across countries in a way that is recognized nationally, and that then will allow us, together with the member states, to develop solutions and a new framework that can fit different European universities models. Then linking this to the comment from Anlenka of the new recognition and reward, I think it's really, I'm really pleased that after many years now, the discussion at European level is dynamic and alive on the need to have new ways to acknowledge and reward the work that academic staff and I would say also non-academic staff in universities and in the surrounding ecosystem are doing. But how about the institutions? Because also institutions need to be acknowledged for this effort and for this innovation that they're pursuing together with other players. And I think this can only happen if the member states, once we can provide the added value and embark on an experimentation that's really involving them only, can provide the institutions top-down with the instruments and the support that are needed. Because even if we have a wonderful tool or potentially impactful innovation, we cannot ever measure the impact if the right conditions do not come to exist. So I think recognition and reward should be also addressed for institutions. And I also really like that this is a place where we are discussing together with also a ministry representative what is that we need to bring there. So it's really important that we innovate, but that we stay in that dialogue to understand what are the national governments looking for, and how can we then work together to strengthen each other and to strengthen Europe, not as an alternative to the global landscape, but as a strong player that can influence a new way to work together, to educate people and to cooperate, to move away from a narrative based on competition and excellence for excellence to one where cooperation is really benefiting everyone.
Thank you for your inspiring last words. And I think that we are cooperating in this session, and I'm very happy with this discussion for this cooperation indeed. I will ask a last question to Peter Levens, Vice Rector for International Affairs at KU Leuven and coordinator of Una Europa. Peter, do you think that European universities initiative may impact the governance and education system first at the level of your institution, and then at the national level, and more generally in higher education institutions?
Thank you, Sabine. First, let me thank you for giving me the opportunity to join this very interesting session. It has been great to see all the progress made by 4EU+, and also to get some insights from our friend alliances, ECIU and UFE. So from the point of view of KU Leuven, but also I think I can speak for the other universities, the 11 universities now of Una Europa, I think we are already experiencing that there is a strong link between what we are doing as an alliance and what we are doing as individual universities. And this comes quite naturally because we have sat together now for a couple of years to develop a joint strategy, which in both directions is also influencing strategies at university level. So there is inspiration for what we want to do together towards the university strategic plans, and we see this happening also in other directions. So that, of course, then needs to be translated into practical actions and projects that we are running together. And for instance, in the field of student mobility, also staff professionalization and research collaborations, we clearly see that the way we are running our universities and the way we are looking at structural international collaboration is being influenced. Now, what is, I think, important is that we, when working on various complicated initiatives, we've seen a couple of examples this afternoon already. Actually, this is also something that Vanessa made clear in her intervention. we are sometimes running into issues that we cannot really solve. When we were first drafting the project a couple of years ago, and now recently for the rollout, we set ourselves the ambition to dream and to dream big and to really come up with ideas that go beyond what we already can do. I think this is important. If we do something in addition to what we already do, it should be more. This was also already mentioned by Daniela. And doing more is not just the sole criterion. We also should be able to do things better and to enhance quality. And in doing so, for instance, setting up joint programs, we run into quite a number of complications because of legal and administrative restrictions at EU member states. And I'm very happy to hear also from the French government representative that there is now an ambition to really deal with these type of issues and to make steps forward. And what we actually would like to see happening on a short time frame is getting a bit more room, or even much more room, to have flexibility in what we want to do, and to create room for experimentation, which should allow us to really tackle some hurdles at national levels, which at this moment complicate high quality transnational collaborative activities. I must say that there already have been quite some successes based on efforts that we did to realize a joint bachelor with all 8, at that time, 8 institutions of UNA Europa, a joint bachelor on European studies. We managed to get exceptional legislation in Flanders and in Spain. And we are also aware of the fact that also in Romania and Croatia, and probably also in other countries, legislation, higher education legislation has been modified in order to allow for more flexibility. Of course, with some restrictions, and when things are embedded in the European University Alliance initiative. What I also would like to mention, and I will not take too much time, given the fact that this meeting is running a little bit late already, is that when we are setting up pilots and take initiatives, of which we are convinced that if well organized, they will be quality enhancing. We are not only doing that in the specific topics that we have predefined, like in our case in focus areas, which are highly interdisciplinary and span activities of several faculties of our universities. So we want these pilots, these projects also to be models that can be easily scaled up towards other parts of our universities, but also beyond our universities. And in that way, successful pilots should be ready in or should be made available as formats that can be easily taken up by other alliances, but also by higher education institutions which are not or not yet part of alliances, so that in their collaborations, when they are seeking quality enhancement through collaboration, they can profit from all the work that we have been doing in our various alliances. So in order to do that, I think that eventually these exceptional regulations and the demand for flexibility should lead to well, Europe-wide and maybe even beyond Europe, approaches and legal structures that allow much more for doing what is best for our students, and in that way also best for our societies, which are and will continue to be very much knowledge-based and will have to be of high quality, and that is what we all strive for. So I'm very hopeful that we will be able to realize that, and I'm also very hopeful that more and more we will be able to have our students on board and with the activities that we are setting out. So I was very happy to also see student engagement in 4EU+, and actually we are working hard in our rollout project, Una Futura, to have a much stronger focus of bringing communities of students within in the driving seat of the projects that we are developing. So I'll leave it with that. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Peter. And this is very nice to share also the experiences and to get inspired. And I think this is also the sense of the cooperation that is getting much more intense the last months and year. And I think it will be even more bigger the next coming years with common answers to the two calls lately. And I think, as it was mentioned by maybe all the speakers of this panel, that if we want to influence the national, the state members and to advance and to inspire others, the cooperation will be key for that. So now, yes, we are running a little bit late, so there are not many questions on the Q&A, so I will directly leave the floor to our Secretary General, Isabel Kratz, and she will have the opportunity to make the closing remarks of this conference. Isabel, the floor is yours. Thank you so much, all the panelists.
Thank you very much, Sabine, to give me the floor. I will start my very short closing remarks by a little, I would say, anecdote. A few days ago, I attended a conference that was organized by one of the member institutions of 4U+. And there were some ministry representatives at this conference. And we had to hear that they were really surprised that the European University initiative or European University concept was not only a concept, that indeed during the last 3 years we did something. And when I just at the end of this conference, I really would wish that these representatives would have been present to this conference, because one thing I was really struck by today is not surprised, but struck by the richness of the presentation and our exchanges, reflecting not surprisingly, I say it again, the wealth of the mission of the European University. I see no European university present, at least today, wanting to restrict its mission on one of our traditional mission, university mission. So we are indeed, as it was said by one speaker, we are overperforming also because we want to cover all this mission. Also, this presentation reflected the achievements of European University after only 3 years. 3 years is, when you are considering the history of any of our universities, a very short time. And for our SWAS project, it's not even 3 years. So also, the impact that each European university has already had on its members and beyond, impact in the field of the European education area, the European research area, and so the higher education area. But also, and thank you to our speakers to also have underlined the challenges and the difficulties that European universities are facing, whether to include all the communities in the construction of the European University or to cover all their mission. Challenge at institutional level, at national level, and of course at international level. We fully took, I think, on us this mission to be test beds, to have also a role model. But this doesn't come with difficulties, as you have really clearly say it. And I think we can be proud today of so many achievements in so short time. I'm sure that our speakers were able to convince us, if not already convinced, that European universities need time and continuous support with a programmatic approach. and convince us that the European universities are well worth it. We are building the university of the future, and to allow me a comparison, like Rome, the university of the future cannot be built in one day. And as Daniela said, priorities have probably to be set. We do not have the capacities to advance or to move forward in a quick time, in a short time, on all the issues we are facing. And these priorities have to be set through a multilateral dialogue. We are indeed overperforming, and we can already see the transformative impact of the European University at different levels, I think. To continue and reach a sustainability point, as Antonella mentioned it, we need the support from the European Commission, from the member states, from, of course, the individual institution. I think we can agree that it's a marathon we have started, not a sprint. And to finish, as one of our speakers said, the journey continues. For U+, and I can imagine this will be the same for many of our sister alliance, For U+ is launching its new Erasmus project mid-November, so no break, finishing the first and launching the next one. And I hope that we will soon have other opportunities to continue our exchanges, develop our internal and intra-alliance collaboration in the interest of our students, our researchers, our academics, our staff, and well beyond, in the interest of a common European future. So to finish, a few words to thank all speakers and moderators for their inspirational talks. And of course, I thank all my colleagues who prepared this event, allowing us to finish our Erasmus Plus project with this firework of inspirational presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Isabelle. Catherine, thank you to all our panelists for the 3 sessions. And I think there is a little surprise to be shared. I don't know who is doing it. Rita. Please, you can process. And with this video, I say you goodbye and see you soon.
We don't hear.
Went here.
Okay. Let me check.
It's okay. Doesn't work to work. I'm sorry. It was meant to be a little surprise. We have the video. We will make sure we can share it on our social media. Really sorry. We don't know what happened here, but we'll make sure to share the video we prepared on our social media. Thank you, Sabine.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.